What's happening, YouTube? Our first post-game live reaction we got for you. The Dallas Cowboys just played their first preseason game of the 21-22 NFL season. It's actually the first preseason game in over 2 years for the NFL, and they lost 16-3. But I'm not going to get too down. It is, like I said, a preseason game, but we are here to overreact. I mean, am I right? Am I wrong, Elliot?
That is exactly why we're here. I mean, what else will we do besides overreact to a 16-3 Hall of Fame game finish? Sloppy
Exactly.
football, don't we all love it, right?
Exactly. And in case you want to keep up with some of the stats, I got them at the top of your screen on that ticker. Some news and notes down there, but nothing if you've been keeping up with the channel that is fairly new on the bottom. So we got quite a few bits and notes and whatnot to go over. We're gonna run through it kind of quick as Elliot has to go to work here in about 5 hours.
Don't talk. Let's not talk about that.
So
Let's focus on football.
we're gonna try to run through this a little bit quicker than normal. Alec said he might join. He's at work right now. Apparently, there's something going on with their stream. They can't get it to work, so he may or may not make it in here. If he does, he does. If he doesn't, oh well. He'll drop by eventually. All right. So like I said, the Cowboys lost 16-3. The first thing I want to get I want to go over is what I think stood out the most: the offensive line. Pass protection on the edge looked super shaky at multiple points, minus when La'el Collins was in the game. Brandon Knight, Terrence Steele, Ty, how do you say his last name? I think it's Naseki, right?
Yeah,
Naseki,
I believe so.
those were the guys holding down the fort post La'el Collins, and La'el played a few series. I don't even think he played an entire drive. I could be wrong, though, and it just did not go well. Ty Naseki had a very bad game in the time that he was in. Obviously, it's a preseason game. I don't think like the stat tracking websites and whatnot really do snap counts and all that. So I'm not able to see exactly how long these players were in the game. But from what I saw, just Ty Naseki and when he was in was just getting eaten alive, and it really shines light on how important it is to have Tyron Smith and La'el Collins healthy. Because if not, this is what we're getting, and there is no 3,000-yard receiver. There is no rookie version of Ezekiel Elliott. There is no healthy Dak Prescott if this is the type of pass protection we're getting on the edge.
Yeah, and I guess part one of our overreacting is going to be about this offensive line. It's very discouraging considering the fact that Terrence Steele and Brandon Knight played a lot of football last year, and for them to come out and look like that, look kind of sloppy and not ready, that does raise cause for concern. Plus, given the injury history of our two good tackles, in Tyron Smith and La'el Collins, and granted, Collins did look good whenever he was out there. He's cut weight. He said he's got off the fried food, and hopefully that helps with his health. But if he can't go, and our backups are not looking good now, I mean, it is the first preseason game. Like I said, at the beginning, we said we're not going to overreact, but we need to pay attention to that, because if they aren't ready, just in case worst case scenario comes up, then like you said, there is no 1,000-yard receivers. There's no healthy Dak. There's no bounce back Zeke. So we gotta really focus on that. And then in the inside, it looked a little better with Connor Williams and McGovern and Beatrice. I always struggle with his name to the last time too.
Tyler Biadasz.
Biadasz, sorry. And if they can be solid, then they'll be okay. But still, we definitely got to focus on the struggles with the guys that played a lot of snaps last year.
Right, and you mentioned the interior, Tyler Biadasz, Connor McGovern, a little bit of Connor Williams too. They did a lot better than I thought. Obviously, it's kind of hard when you're watching the game and you're reacting immediately after. There's no coach's film to look over, so you can't really see if they're getting beat. But from what I saw whenever they handed the ball off to Rico Dodal or I forget who the other, Tony Pollard, there was another running back who was featured late in the game. Don't quite remember his name, but whenever the ball was handed off, it seemed like they were just pushing the defensive tackles back a lot more than not only think I expected, but pretty much everyone watching who's become accustomed to how bad this offensive line was last year. So that was definitely a bit of a surprise. Obviously, we are a week in to the preseason. So there's plenty of room for improvement, just as there's plenty of room for failure. So we'll just have to see if that holds up. But I was impressed by how Tyler Biadasz, Connor McGovern, and Connor Williams held up in the run game.
Yeah, definitely. Same here. And if they can hold up and get that push, it makes everything easier. You want to get an attacking downhill offense, getting Zeke easy lanes. And if they can do that now and build on that momentum, that'd be amazing for the whole offense.
Right. And I mentioned Rico Dowdle's name, who looked like he can be an excellent backup for Tony Pollard if Zeke was to go down and Tony Pollard was to become the number one. This dude shined in the game tonight.
Yeah.
Notably, he got the Cowboys 15 to 20 yards out of being backed up on the 1 yard line on just one single run. In total, 8 carries, 43 yards. That run was a 25-yard run, I believe. It was his longest of the night. Where did Rico Dowdle come from? Because this dude he surprised pretty much every Cowboy fan watching.
Right. Honestly, I'm not 1,000% sure, man. I know I saw the run and it really burst off the screen. I think he might have been a camp body last year, if I'm not mistaken, too. I don't want to be wrong there or anything.
Oh, yeah. I believe he was a part of the team last year. It just where was this version of him last year?
I have no idea. And if he can come and produce like that, he definitely will end up making this roster. And it depends on how many running backs Dallas wants to carry, but he definitely sounds like an intriguing option. Worst case scenario, if Zeke does go down and Tony Pollard is starting to number one, if he can improve on that and show that this isn't just the first game of the season, fluke. If he can do that consistently throughout the preseason, I don't see why he wouldn't be able to make the roster and be that third running back just in case Zeke does go down. I mean, obviously he may have to show some of his special teams, but like I said, based off his running ability and how he performed tonight, that definitely seems realistic.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if he keeps this up, he is a lock for the 53-man roster. Elsewhere on the offense, Malik Turner, aside from a fumble hiccup, this dude was everywhere. In my opinion, arguably the most impressive player on offense tonight, the other one being the person we just discussed, Rico Dowdle. 4 receptions on 5 targets for 45 yards. He was all over the field, kind of reminded me and looked a lot like CeeDee Lamb, just the way he was going up to get it. Kind of a tall, slender guy. Not someone you'd expect to be going up when he's got defenders on him and coming down with these footballs. But like I said, a fumble hiccup. Other than that, the dude looked great.
Yeah, he looked really good, and I had to look him up after that. I know I've heard the name Malik Turner a couple times, and I know he spent time with Green Bay and Seattle previously. But given how talented we are at receiver, it will be very hard to crack this roster. So every opportunity that he has, he needs to produce. And like I said, besides the fumble hiccup, he looked explosive. He was popping out of the screen. He was the only, besides Rico, he was the only bright spot on the offense. I mean, if the offensive line's bad, the quarterback's gonna look bad, and we'll get the QBs later. But Malik Turner, he can definitely be a dark horse if he can keep producing like that to be the 5th or 6th receiver. But it's gonna be a tough hill to climb, considering the guys that they have in front of him once Amari Cooper and everybody gets healthy. But a tall, slender CeeDee Lamb, that's a great comparison, considering how CeeDee has looked during training camp. So if he can go out there and protect the football, make routine catches, and keep producing consistently, I'd definitely be interested in seeing if he can make a competition for that 5th or 6th receiver.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Malik Turner's a guy that the writers have made note of as being one of the training camp standouts, so I'm excited to see him as he progresses through the preseason. He's a guy that's been on this roster before, didn't really make any noise last year, and now this year looks like he's finally coming into his own shape, and he's letting Cowboys fans and just people around the NFL know who he is. A 25-year-old receiver, as you mentioned, spent time with Seattle. So not really many people know the name Malik Turner, but I feel like that's going to change after this preseason. Another guy, backup receiver that made some noise, Cedric Wilson. And this Cedric Wilson, he's a guy that last year we saw flashes of a comfortable backup 4th option if one of the 3 1,000-yard receivers we have, Gallup, Cooper, and CD, go down. And it looks like he didn't miss a step in the offseason. It wasn't in that game, or he wasn't in the game for long, but when he was, 4 targets, 2 receptions for 29 yards. He looked fast. He was running his routes real crispy. I mean, he looked great out there.
Yeah, I'm a big Cedric Wilson fan. I mean, I know the Dallas loves the Boise State guys, and when they drafted him a couple of years ago, it took him a while to get onto the field and produce. But before Dak went down, he was a reliable option for him, considering all the attention that the other receivers would get. If Cedric Wilson a lot of times is matched up with a linebacker, he has a real favorable matchup. So it's very important for him to get these looks as the number 1 and number 2 guy early in the preseason, just to build his confidence and make it easier for him whenever it is time for him to step up and make that big time catch. And I think he's a tremendous deep threat too. Really fast, he moves really well, and solid hands. And if he can be that deep threat, take the top off the defense, I mean, it's the potential the receivers have. It's remarkable. And if Cedric Wilson can build on that and be consistent in his role, that just makes it easier for everybody in the receiver room.
And I don't want to jump to conclusions or get too far ahead of myself, is I think the better way to put it. But we are overreacting. And if either Malik Turner or Cedric Wilson keeps up at this pace, I have to imagine Michael Gallup is most definitely out the door following the season. He kind of already is a lock for being out the door. I don't think the Cowboys are going to be able to pay him nearly as much as he's deserving of, and he would have to take quite the pay cut to stay here. But I think the Cowboys are in good hands offensively when it comes to having a replacement receiver for Michael Gallup at the end of the year. But like I said, I'm jumping way far ahead. Like that's like more than 6 months out. So we'll cross that bridge when we get there.
I hope you don't have to cross that bridge because I'm a big Michael Gallup guy. So
hey, I mean, like I said, he would. I know he likes it here. Like him and Dak are really good friends, and it's kind of like the guy behind me. I don't know if you guys have been paying attention the past few streams, but I get this Joey Gallo sign behind me, and if you keep up with baseball and the Rangers especially, you know that Joey Gallo wanted to stay with the Rangers, but business is business, and sometimes that's how these things work in sports. So we'll just have to see. But like you said, I hope we don't have to cross that bridge. We will potentially at that time, and we'll just have to see what happens. All right, coming back down to earth, the run defense. Let's get let's analyze the defensive line. In my opinion, I used a very specific word to describe it. I said cringeworthy, and I think it's cringeworthy because, well, it made everyone cringe. We've been hearing in camp these past few weeks that, the defense has gotten significantly better, especially the run defense. We've heard Brent Urban has made a big splash. Osa Odighizuwa, if that's how you say his last name, has been doing pretty well. Quentin Bohanna, your guy, has also got a few pass breakups here and there. He's done well. Micah Parsons, not that there was anything wrong with him in this game, but just together as a whole, all those names, it just sounded like it was going to become a lot better than what it was. And while all those guys I listed did make plays today, it was everyone else that seemingly just didn't really do anything to help, which isn't quite enough to get this run defense to where I think the Cowboys coaching staff wants it.
Yeah, and any performance that reminds you of 2018 in Los Angeles is going to make Cowboys fans pretty nauseous.
I knew you were going to bring that up. I
God, I think about that all the time. Of course, you want to see, you're overreacting. I get that. But, of course, you want to see your guys at least show signs that, okay, we can put this together, and this is not going to be the same old, same old. Our guys shine, but it needs to be a complete team effort, and it's granted a lot of guys didn't make the trip or play good, meaningful snaps, but considering how football's a contact and physical sport, injuries are a part of it, and this is where you see where your depth is at. This is where you see where if a guy gets a nagging injury, it goes down, or he can't play, or he has to miss snaps. Now we're not just randomly like, okay, we got to see if this guy is good. Like, this is the time now. So it is again discouraging, and that's why it's part of reaction, part okay, this is what we're seeing. We definitely got to fix the run defense because that's where the defense starts. If teams can run the ball on us any way, anytime possible, if we can't stop them running the ball, it's going to be hell for the corners too.
Oh yeah.
It's going to be bad.
And we know the secondary um, isn't good by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, they have potential, but by
Not
no
right now.
means are they good enough to sustain a bad defensive line, which is what the Cowboys might have, might not. Like I said, we're overreacting. Randy Gregory didn't play. DeMarcus Lawrence didn't play. And they also went up against Najee Harris, who, in my opinion, I mean, I'm super high on Najee Harris, and in my opinion, is a really, really good running back that's going to be a force to be reckoned
Yeah,
with in the years to come.
really good
And
guy.
Najee was playing against, like, Quentin Bohanna is not going to start week one. Osa Odighizuwa, despite what I said the first time we streamed, is not going to start week one. Brent Urban didn't play. He didn't play like he would during the season in terms of how long he was in the game. So we also have to take that into consideration. It's just a little disappointing to see that the first I don't know, the first few series, first few drives, we didn't do all that well, or didn't do as well as I liked us to do, stopping Najee Harris.
Yeah, 1,000%.
The guy that did stop Najee Harris, though, was Micah Parsons. And not only did he do
Yeah,
that, I mean, the dude was everywhere. He had a fumble
everywhere.
recovery in this game. He sniffed out a reverse, although he didn't quite stop it. He caught, I forget who the reverse was to, but I just remember him right behind whoever had the ball. Jaron Curse came in it and saved the play from being a big gain. But Micah Parsons, the speed, the athleticism, we didn't even really see him in coverage, which is, I think, the best part. Like, teams don't know what to expect from him in coverage. We only saw him rushing the passer, shooting the gaps. This dude was everywhere, man.
Yeah, I mean, how do you game plan for a gladiator that can move like that? That's super fast, super athletic, got a great instinct and feel for the game. And granted, it was a pretty easy fumble recovery for him that you and I probably could have picked up. But the fact that the turnover guys looked pretty good for us already, and Michael Parsons is around the football and in the play, is already better than what we've seen from our linebackers the past couple years. I mean, just the fact he's already in his first NFL, even if it is the Hall of Fame preseason game, his first NFL game, he's around the football, he's moving. Dan Quinn gives him the green dot, the green helmet. He's helping with the play calls. He's out there. I mean, that's to me the biggest bright spot from this pretty ugly game is Michael Parsons is legit, and he's only scratching the surface of where he's about to end up being for his defense this year.
And before we move forward, Alec, for the first time, is going to make an appearance onto the channel. I'm going to admit him to the chat room real quick. Let's see if he can hear us. You there? His audio's connecting. You there?
Yeah.
What's up?
Uh,
What's up, fellas?
How's it going, man?
It goes.
It goes. Well,
It goes.
we're glad to have you here. If you're watching the stream and the face cam keeps switching back and forth, I haven't set up a 3-person overlay yet, so I apologize. But Alec, we're just about halfway through our thoughts on this overreaction 16-3 preseason loss between the Cowboys and Pittsburgh Steelers. Kind of just talking up Micah Parsons. I mean, Elliot was talking about how he's extremely versatile, rushing the passer, shooting the gaps. I was kind of doubling down on what he said. Is there anything you have to add about who I think is going to be this defense's most coveted asset?
I was a big fan of what I saw, and like you said, it's overreaction period, and I think there's a lot to like. It's one game that doesn't count after all, but the speed that we saw in Oxnard and we saw at Penn State and we saw in his testing, it translates with pads and in full game action. That speed translated really, really well. And I think that's going to be a key component, especially when you look at your linebacker core right now. You've got guys who aren't exactly the quickest. Leighton Vander Esch, he can move, but he's not the 4-4 guy that you're seeing the NFL turn to, and guys like Devin White and now Micah Parsons. So and Jalen Smith with the nerve injury and everything, you're not going to see that out of him. So I think the lateral speed is going to be something really, really crazy, especially with all the techniques that they're going to involve him in, rushing off the edge. And as an off-ball linebacker, if his coverage can get better, which it needs to in the NFL, with this passing league, it's going to do him a really big charity in coverage. So as an off-ball linebacker, it's gonna be a treat. And then rushing off the edge, I think he's going to be dominant. You can't overuse him on the edge because I think at his size, you're not going to get away with it every time. And I think you kind of saw that tonight that, you can't do it every play. You need him to drop, and you need him to play next to Van Der Esch a couple snaps and really get the offensive coordinator kind of guessing where is he going to line up, what is he going to do. But man, you have that power with him. With the guys you have now, you don't have that power to keep offenses guessing. Where is he going to be? What is he going to do next? So I think this was a very healthy dose of excitement for your first round pick that you really need, especially considering how weak the defense was last year, to put it nicely. You got a lot to look forward to with Micah Parsons.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the versatility that Parsons carries with him is, I think, one of the things that makes him who he is. And you mentioned a few other linebackers' names in there. Jalen Smith. Did y'all know that Jalen Smith tackled one of his own teammates tonight?
Not surprised.
Yeah, I wish I didn't know that, but I do.
Yeah, I didn't see it. I was watching a little bit of Jeff Kavanaugh after the game, and I guess someone went in his comment section and pointed it out. Jalen Smith. I don't really know how much he played. I think I only saw him in the first few offensive drives for Pittsburgh. Didn't see him do much, but like I said, this is overreaction time. Like, there's plenty of time for Jalen Smith to get back to where he was. So we'll just have to see. I think I want to see a little more out of Jalen Smith though in the preseason. I don't know about you guys, but I mean, Jalen Smith has got to have a bounce back year, and I think it starts in garbage time. These 4 preseason games that don't count.
Oh yeah, definitely. And hopefully his ego's not too big to where he feels he needs to prove himself more, because it's a lot on the line for Jalen, considering the deal he got. And I mean, you drafted Micah Parsons with a pretty luxury pick, and I know that pressure is probably getting to him, and he has a lot to prove. So it's really up to him, and it only benefit us if he can go out there and prove that he can be the guy that he came out of Notre Dame to be. So hopefully he can end up being that player.
Yeah, Elliot brings up a good point there. I think a lot of the fan base, I think we can all be guilty of it now and then, but some people really root for this man's downfall. When he plays for your team, if you're a fan, he plays for your team. So I think we need to really come together and hope that, sure, he takes up a pretty big chunk of your salary cap post-pandemic and everything. I get that. But you need to pray for this man's success if you want to win football games, because at the end of the day, your linebacker core was awful last year. You add Micah Parsons, you add Jabril Cox, who was really good in coverage and had some flashes tonight even. You addressed it, but really you want him to play up to his competition in-house and hope that you don't have to move out of that salary and pay him to play for another team. You want him to succeed here and here only. And if he does succeed here and you still want to move on, then you increase his value. So either way, it's a win-win if he plays well. So I think we need to be apologists for him at times. I know his ego, like Elliot mentioned, can get the best of him, but at the times where he's trying his best, we need to be there with him and hope for, continued growth.
That's honestly a great assessment. I haven't really heard anyone put it that way, and there's not anything in the points you just made that I would disagree with whatsoever. Confidence is key for Jalen Smith. He has it, but at some point, every human breaks. And if you just keep preying on his downfall, like you said, that's just not good for him. As Cowboy fans, for his success depends on us being there for him. And I think the same can be said for Nahshon Wright, who started off the game really, really slow, gave up on a play. He was covering Chase Claypool, pretty much beat him off the jump. He thought Claypool pushed him. He, like I said, gave up on the play. So I think that probably scared a lot of Cowboys fans. Also, Nashawn Wright has been doing some good things and some bad things in training camp. So confidence is key for Wright. He proceeded to sniff out a reverse and cover extremely well later in the game, most notably his coverage on a 35-yard pass down the sideline to Isaiah McCoy in the third quarter, followed by a tackle short of the first down marker the very next play that resulted in the drive's end. I mean, that's huge for a guy like Nashawn Wright, who I forget how late we drafted him, but wasn't really high enough for him to be considered like the guy that's going to shift this defense.
Yeah, he was a third-round selection, which turned a lot of heads, and the team and the organization got a lot of flack for it. You know, they thought that was too high. There was scouts and scouting websites saying, you know, I wouldn't have taken him till the 5th, 6th, 7th round, you know, undrafted free agent, you know, and the great Dane Brugler of The Athletic, he evaluates hundreds of prospects in the draft, and he didn't even know who Nashawn Wright was, if that gives you any perspective. But the guy has tremendous upside, and that drive-ending tackle that you had brought up, that was the key play for me. A big, skinnier guy, I don't expect him to make those open field solo tackles, but he did. And that's just one small little play, small sample size that I can overreact to just as, you know, a football nerd, that a smaller corner, a DB that's not Jamal Adams, is running up, putting his shoulder down and making that solo tackle on a beefier receiver. So I like what I saw despite the getting burned and giving up on a play. That's a rookie mistake. We can move on from it. So I'm willing to forget and forgive. So,
Elliot, I know you're somewhat high on Nashawn Wright. Anything from this game that stood out to you outside of just covering really well towards the end of the game?
Yeah, I'm glad he bounced back too, and he didn't let his poor start really, you know, put him down. But it's the fact that the coaching staff threw him out there into the fire like that and trust him this early to go out there and learn from those same mistakes that, I mean, they're going to happen. It's part of the game, especially being a rookie corner. You're going to make mistakes, and you got to have short-term memory to be a good corner in this league. And the fact that he could put those mistakes behind him so quickly and throughout the game and get better is already a good sign as it is. And like Alec mentioned, that he could come up and make that tackle, considering him being tall and lanky. You know, we need guys that can tackle. Obviously, tackling has been a problem for a long time. And for him to come out and be aggressive and be an aggressive tackler, that's very important for his development and even more important for the team defense. So, I mean, yeah, like you said, he had his issues, he had his faults, but he took it with a grain of salt. He kept going, and he just kept improving throughout the game. So if he can build on this performance throughout these next preseason games and throughout training camp, it'll be interesting to see where he's at before the season starts.
And speaking of rookie corners, another one the Cowboys drafted pretty high, second-round selection, Kelvin Joseph. Didn't see much of him in this game. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I'm going to assume it's a good thing because the less you see of someone probably means the better they're doing. And in Kelvin Joseph's case, he's on Chase Claypool. What's his name? Is it Deontay Harris or Smith?
Maybe.
I think it was Smith.
I don't know why, but I always get those last names mixed up. Regardless, those are two really, really good receivers, and to not see Kelvin Joseph at all, in my opinion, it's kind of a good thing.
Yeah, it's a great thing. I know he got to camp. He might have missed the mini camp, I believe, at the beginning of the year. But it was, I wouldn't say concerns, but it was a question mark seeing how he would be coming into training camp and with the team. And like you said, if he's already getting held out of meaningless games, means he's going to be playing in games that really matter. And for him to be a second-round pick and our highest drafted corner this year, it's a lot of responsibility and a lot of pressure on his back. So I'm honestly excited to see how he does in the next preseason games. I mean, I know they all really don't matter in the grand scheme of things, but seeing him get that opportunity in those snaps, I'm really excited to see where Kelvin Joseph is and to see that the athleticism and, you know, the ball hawking skills he had at Kentucky, to see how that can translate to the NFL.
Yeah, Kelvin Joseph, he's a unique cat. I've heard a lot of talk of this guy's first round talent if he wasn't a SoundCloud rapper, which is beyond me. But I know there was some concerns, and with him being coachable, yada yada yada. You know, I think when your defense is hurting this bad, I think taking the chance on him in the second round, I think that was good value. And I think, honestly, once this guy's in shape and he's ready to ball, once a week, every Sunday, I think this is going to prove to be a pretty good draft selection. I'm not going to say that he's the steal of the draft yet, but I will say that you got good value there. You made the right pick. Especially considering I wrote a whole article on USA Today's Cowboys Wire that you needed to go get Trayvon Merrick for your secondary out of TCU, and the Raiders jumped us one pick ahead. I think you saved day two by making that Kelvin Joseph selection, despite any talk that scouts had, character concerns, blah, blah, blah. Through the interviews and the media that he's done, I think he's a guy. I don't think there's anything up with him, and I believe him when he says that he's here to play football. So I think his best days are ahead of him. His best game in college was covering the Heisman Trophy winner Devontae Smith, and that's where his best tape came from. And I think that if anything, in a scheme like this, he should fit well, and with a coach like Dan Quinn, I think the sky's the limit with him.
And one thing about Kelvin Joseph that I worry about is kind of similar to Trayvon Diggs, where the football IQ is not as high as you'd like it to be. He gets fooled quite a bit on double moves, starter steps. I noticed early on in the game, and I don't know how long Kelvin Joseph was in the game because there was no snap count available to us at this current moment in time. But I did notice early on that there was a lot of short outs that I would see him behind. So I don't know if that's him getting fooled on some double moves because the camera wasn't on the matchup. So we don't know what was going on there. I can only assume that's the case because he is a rookie playing in his first technically NFL game, even though it's a preseason game, still an NFL game. So those are things that I personally would like to see Kelvin Joseph get better with. Obviously, this is a second-round receiver that I just mentioned has football IQ problems. So you're not going to see this dude lock down receivers like he locked down Devonta Smith in college. There's going to be some growing pains along the way with Kelvin Joseph. All right, before we wrap this up, I want to talk about the quarterbacks. Ben DiNucci looked terrible. Garrett Gilbert, Cooper Rush. This team's backup quarterback is not currently rostered. I cannot stress that enough.
Yeah, that was and it's weird because it seems like every year that we seem to have this same recurring problem that if our quarterback goes down, we're done. And it's what's the definition of insanity? It's doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. There's no way we can go into the season with Ben DiNucci and Cooper Rush. I mean, Garrett Gilbert had a solid game last year against Pittsburgh, but I mean that's one game. And I'm just my confidence level is at an all-time low if number 4 goes out, and I can't even imagine what we'd look like. And I mean, I know we had the line didn't play well. We didn't have the starting offensive line, but I mean, I can't even praise positivity around the backup QBs tonight. They look pretty bad. Really
yeah,
bad.
I think you're really your only hope if you move forward as is Garrett Gilbert. I think he's the only guy that looks like anything near the shadow of an NFL quarterback. DiNucci, he's going to stay on the roster just because the connection him and McCarthy have, coach's pet right there. They literally know each other from their home state. They have family ties together. He's staying on the roster. Is he ever going to play? You hope not. Is he even going to be second on the depth chart? You hope not. Garrett Gilbert wasn't terrible, my main critique for him was I think he was holding on to the ball when he shouldn't have. He's not really great in the red zone. The things with Garrett Gilbert, I feel like they're teachable. I feel like he's a coachable dude, and I think his issues on the field are coachable. It's just going to take time. And the thing that sucks with a backup quarterback is you don't have much time. You have a 17-game schedule now, which means you have a 3-game preseason instead of 4. So that's one less game that Gilbert is going to have to go out there and really work on these things in front of a live defense and a real defense that's actually trying to get to him and actually trying to hit him. He's not going to get that feel in practice. Sure, he'll be going against Micah Parsons and guys like this, whenever he gets reps with the ones, but they're not trying to hit him and inflict pain on him. These are guys that care about him and want him to succeed. The other guys don't care. The other teams don't care. So I don't think he's going to get much better is what I'm worried about. So to Michael's point, I think your backup quarterback is somewhere else in the league right now, but I don't think you're going to get him because of cap constraints. And Stephen Jones already said at the beginning of training camp, he's keeping his eyes peeled, but we don't have much money to pay a guy like Andy Dalton, or a Nick Foles. We don't have that kind of cash right now. And especially it's going to go to waste if, another injury pops up in another position that for a guy that would actually play. So, if a linebacker goes down or a corner goes down and you have to go trade for one or go pay one, you're not going to have that money if you're paying Nick Foles to sit on your bench and you gave up, a 6th-round pick already. So I don't think your backup quarterback, your ideal backup quarterback is rostered, but I think the one that you're going to have to live with is, and his name is Garrett Gilbert. And I can't say it makes me gag, but I will say that you can't rely on him forever. So I would like better, but Garrett Gilbert, if that's it, then, let's just hope 4 stays up for all 17 games and into the postseason.
Might I suggest one Gardner Minshew?
Oh, yes. Bring the legend over, please.
I would love to see that. That'd be amazing.
He's incredible.
Honestly,
I love him.
I love it.
I can't imagine he's that hard of a cap hit, and to acquire him, a late-round pick, is that really, that coveted?
Exactly.
Maybe I'm looking in the future. Maybe not. I don't know. Other notable names that stood out in this game: Dalton Schultz, while he was in, got wide open in some space quite a bit. Isaac Alarcon, a guy you brought up, Alec. Cedric Wilson, who we already went over. Brees Kennedy did a lot in the backfield. ESPN says that he had 4 tackles for loss. I don't recall seeing him getting 4 tackles for loss, but whatever they say. Aaron Parker, receiver, 2 receptions, over 30 yards, and Jabril Cox entered the game in its final stages and kind of stood out amongst the very back end of the depth chart on the 90-man roster. Anything else y'all want to add?
I mean, I'm a Jabril Cox guy. I'm a Jabril Cox guy, so I'm glad he got in. And if he can put all the tools together and be who they think he can be, that'll be putting more pressure on the new number 9. So I'm going to get you a number 9 jersey.
Speaking of number 9, I will say it did not look right to see Jalen Smith sporting number 9. I hate that, man. I hate that.
I'll make sure to get you one, bro. I'll get you a nice number 9 Smith jersey.
No,
pass. Hey, I have an idea. We should set a subscriber goal for the channel, and if we hit that number, Michael has to get a number 9 Jalen Smith jersey.
I already have to go. Nah, okay. I'd be maybe down to do that, but in my fantasy league right now, as it stands, I have one of the worst teams on paper, and the loser has to go to a WNBA game without their phone for the entire time, and I've already got enough. I've already got enough.
I don't even want to laugh at that. That's just like, okay.
I've already got the
that's
pressure of not succeeding in the fantasy league is enough for me. So maybe we put that on Elliot. Let's let him wear the Jalen Smith number 9 jersey.
Okay. I mean, hey, I'll do the number 9. Somebody has to do number 9. Jalen Smith. I'll do it. I'll do it. We got to pick the goal.
We're gonna step it up.
Yeah, I'll take one for the team.
All right. Yeah. Sounds good, man. All right. Well, that's going to be it for the stream. Check back at some point later this week or maybe early on next week for another one. Appreciate you coming on, Alec. Appreciate you coming on, Elliot. I know, Alec, you're hard at work. Elliot, you work in 4 hours.
Stop talking about it.
So, yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, like I said, I appreciate y'all coming on. We will be back at some point, and y'all stay safe out there. That venomous cobra is still on the loose, so don't get caught up with that thing.
20 minutes from my house. Yes.
Yeah.
Stand alert.
Yeah. So stay safe, and if you're watching and you live in the DFW area, also stay safe because that's a scary little reptile rolling around there. All right. If you enjoyed, don't forget to drop a like, leave a comment, and subscribe, and we will catch y'all